First of all, I'd like to
get it
thank
wrong.
Adrian and Astrid for including me in your special day. And I think I'd echo everybody to say this is one of the most beautiful days you could have asked for. And Astrid, you look stunning. So, Mr. Adrian. I've known Adrian for about 12 years exactly. We met in the Departures Lounge in the Pearson Airport in Toronto. We were flying off to Switzerland to complete grade 13 at Neuchâtel. And I remember I was talking with my newfound friend Phil, and this guy walks up to us, who struck me at the time as kind of a pretty boy jock type. He introduces himself as Adrian.
How
For
wrong
those of
you
you
were.
who knew Adrian back then, he was probably the farthest thing from a jock you can imagine. But nevertheless, I certainly did not imagine at that time that Adrian was going to become one of my closest friends ever. Really like the brother that I never had. Nor that we were going to be both meeting our future wives that day in the Pearson Airport, not to mention dozens of other close friends, many of whom are here today. So after that day at Pearson, we got to know each other pretty well. Adrian and I lived together in Switzerland. We did first year university at Halifax together. We did subsequent years university in Kingston. And we even tree planted together during the summers, including the only time I've been to Sudbury was a 68-hour bus ride downtown Toronto to Salmon Arm. Right from the start, Adrian always struck me as a pretty smart guy, at least academically. Never really known for his street smarts. And I've got lots of different stories I could tell to demonstrate that point, but I'll just choose one as one of my personal favorites. It was first year university in Halifax, Halloween. Adrian knows where this one's going. We went to a house party, and we get to this house, and in front of the house there's a bunch of police. And we talk to them, and they say, nothing to worry about, we're just monitoring the party, but we're going to be watching for people leaving with open alcohol, so just be careful. This is at about 9 o'clock at night. 30 minutes later, not even, Adrian decides to go outside with an open beer in his hand for some fresh air, strolls across the sidewalk to go strike up a conversation with the cop. That was when Adrian was thrown in the drunk tank in Halifax, not even 10 o'clock at night.
I wasn't drunk either. Another thing that really stands out for me looking back at the last 12 years is how much I've learned from Adrian. Practical things like why you should never set up your tent in a floodplain. I learned the hard way a few times. But also more fundamental things like how to be a really good brother, never to take yourself too seriously, and the reason why you should always be breaking up a long workday with some mindless TV, like the movie Office Space that Adrian watched probably every day from first year in university. But I'm happy to say that we both matured a little bit since those days in Halifax. I moved to Calgary in 2006, and Adrian, who was probably the most anti-Toronto person you could imagine back then, of course moved to Toronto. And since then we haven't seen each other quite as often, probably once every 4 or 6 months or so. But it's pretty neat because it's kind of like a snapshot in time every time I see him. And it's amazing how much we've both grown up and how our lives are taking us in some pretty amazing places. And on that note, I can definitely remember the first time that I saw Adrian after he and Astrid had started seriously dating. And prior to that, Adrian always kind of struck me as the sort of guy who was never completely satisfied with what he was doing at the present. He was always a bit restless. And starting on that day, I've never seen Adrian so content with exactly where he was in the present. And the types of conversations that we would be having after a few glasses of scotch in Calgary were quite a bit different than the types of conversations we were having back in Halifax. We were starting to talk about buying homes and getting married and starting families. So I look forward to those conversations continuing. So now here we are. Of the 90 to 100 people that met that day in Pearson Airport, Adrian and Astrid are actually the fourth Neuchâtel couple now to get married. And from my very unbiased perspective, I think Neuchâtel couples are as strong as they get, and you're in pretty good company. So, Astrid, thank you for helping guide Adrian into the upstanding gentleman that he is today. I admire both of you, and it's pretty amazing to watch how well you complement each other's personalities and encourage each other to be the best people that you can be. So with that, I'm very excited to watch you two continue to develop as a couple, and I look forward to continuing to learn from both of you, and I hope we can share many more years of friendship and enjoy lives as married couples. So with that, if you could raise your glasses, those of you who still have them, and then in the Neuchâtel tradition, wish Adrian and Astrid Santé.